Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. Happy Monday, everybody. For those of you who are in the US, happy Thanksgiving week. I hope you're all having great preparations and not too much anxiety about hosting family or hosting friends or whatever it is that you do for Thanksgiving. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in all the things that we do in this Hacking HR community. My name is Enrique Rubio. I am the founder of Hacking HR and always very excited to welcome great guests to this conversation. And today, we have a phenomenal guest, Valerie, who's going to be joining on the screen soon to discuss about something super exciting, but I don't want to say it. I want you to say it, Valerie. I want to bring you to the stage so you say this thing. Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm so great, Enrique. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, but please tell us this exciting thing. I was so close to saying it, but I want you to say it. There is something that is going to be happening tomorrow that is very exciting. Please say what that is.
I am so excited. So, the second edition of my book, Quantum Progression, the Quantum Leap Edition, The Art and Science of Career Advancement in the Age of AI, releases tomorrow. So, it releases tomorrow worldwide. I am so excited.
I am so excited, and I am hoping that everybody gets a copy. I had the privilege to have had a copy in advance. Yeah, I know, to have a copy in advance. I needed it to prepare for this conversation. But Valerie, I'm so excited about your book. I'm really looking forward to continue to promote it so that everybody can read it and get some phenomenal insights from you. But let's begin with the second part of the beginning, which is an introduction of you. So if you can please share with our audience in Hacking HR, we're live now on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. So if you can share with our audience a little bit more about who you are, what you've done, your career, and why did you write a book about the art and science of career advancement in the age of AI?
Well, I am so excited to introduce myself. So thank you very much. It's kind of a long story of how I got into HR. So everybody kind of got to bear with me. So I'm Valerie Capus Workman. I am currently the Chief Human Resources Officer of Empower Pharmacy, and we are dedicated to making sure that medications are affordable for everyone so that you don't have to choose between paying your rent and taking care of your wellness. But how I got into HR is a really interesting story. I am a lawyer by trade, and I have been a compliance officer and chief compliance officer for quite a while. I was head of compliance for Tesla, and I joined Tesla in 2018. And 2 years in, the CEO decided, and I guess I voluntold, I don't know, that I'd be leading HR. And that was in December of 2019, 1 month before COVID hit. And during my time at Tesla, I was there for 4 years. I learned so much about automation, AI, where tech was going, where human resources was going, where workforce planning was going. And I started to really think there's a lot happening in the AI space that people just don't understand. They need to know how this is going to impact their careers. And so in 2023, I released the first version of my book. And I got quite a bit of skepticism. Valerie's being alarmist. AI is not going to take over jobs that way, But about 6 months after the book was released, I started to get invitations to speak around the world. I was at Future Talent Council. I was in Stockholm. I was in Paris. I was at Transform. I was in Las Vegas. Because people start to really understand, wait a minute, this thing with AI is real. That was 2 years ago. And in AI time, that's a million years ago. And so I thought it was time to release the new version because so much has changed and there's so much information. My goal is to help people understand how to remain employable and to advance their careers in the age of AI. I know how to do it. I wrote a book about it. There's a playbook. It releases tomorrow. So I am so excited to talk about it today. But that's why I wrote the book, to make sure that no one gets left behind in the age of AI. That's my personal mission.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I love your mission. We share that mission and that vision in Hacking HR. We don't want anybody to be left behind. I have this fear that if somebody's left behind, to catch up is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
So we don't want anybody to be left behind or left out of this AI revolution. So we will be talking more about that, but let's begin with the gossip. Gossip first. Let's get gossip out of the way. You head of
I wonder
compliance.
what you want to know.
You know what I'm going to ask you. Head of compliance in Tesla, leading
Yeah.
HR in Tesla. I think the stories outside of Tesla are how demanding Elon Musk can be, and the kinds of questions he asks to the people that are going to be working closer to him. So number one, how did that feel for you to be asked to lead HR by one of the leading innovators in the world? And number two, what were some of the things that you had to do in that role in that company that you hadn't done before, because maybe here the demand was higher or the expectations were different? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I want to go back to where I started. So when I joined Tesla, I was head of compliance. So that was my dream. That was my goal. Like, I had made it. I wanted to be chief compliance officer somewhere. I wanted to work for a company that was making a difference in the world. I wanted a true mission that I could wrap my heart around, not just my brain around. And so landing that job at Tesla was a dream job for me. And so when I was there, the first 2 years, I was responsible for, helping to get the factory built in Shanghai. And when you're in compliance and you're working in China, that's the ultimate, like to do compliance in China. So I had made it. Interestingly, I was also the executive sponsor for Black at Tesla, which is one of the ERGs. And about 2 years in, I'm having this great individual career. But we had this meeting with the engineers, and they gave us an earful of what they thought we should be doing, not just for the Black employees, but all employees globally, all 50,000 of them. And so I had a decision I had to make. And I thought, okay, do I keep having this individual career where I'm just rocking it? I'm a superstar at Tesla. I don't want to rock the boat. But then I'm thinking, there's some things we could be doing better. And there's some things we should be doing for employees. Do I start speaking up? And I did. So I started to speak up at town hall meetings, at all hand meetings, and at the collective ERG meetings, and word got to the CEO. And so one day I got a text, still have it. And it said, Elon wants to see you. Now, prior to that time, I had been on one joint call with him, but I'd never individually spoken to him. And so I called my husband and I said, I'm probably going to be fired. And my husband and I have this joke. It's called bologna sandwiches, because it's, whenever our integrity is on the line and we're going to choose our integrity over salaries, the code word is bologna sandwiches. So I called him. I said, babe, bologna sandwiches. Elon wants to see me. And he says, I got your back. And so I went to meet him at one of our locations. I was in a conference room, and it's just me and him. And he said, so I hear you think there are things we should be doing differently at Tesla. And I said, yes, there are. And he said, what are they? And I said, well, when you hire the CHRO, whoever the person will be, these are the things that this person should be doing. I wrote off a list of all the things I felt we as a company should be doing for employees. Now, just a little bit of backstory, because you asked me this. The cool thing about Tesla, and there are many cool things about Tesla, the excellence there is everywhere. I've never worked in a company where every department, every person, no matter who you talk to, they're outstanding. Like, I've worked in companies before where, like, there's that go-to person in finance, there's that go-to person in marketing, there's a go-to person in supply chain. Tesla, everybody's like that. Wow. But in addition to being that excellent, there were things I felt in that contract, between the employees and the employer, that the employer should be doing. So I read off everything, and he goes, okay, so you want to lead HR? And I thought, oh man, I do not want that job. Like, no, absolutely not, is what I thought. And it was a question, but it was an open-ended question. And what people need to glean from this conversation was, I got the audience with him because I spoke up, not because I was quiet. And people tend to miss that. And so in that moment, I said, yes, I'll take on the role. And so I left that conference room, because it's true, he doesn't have an office. I left that conference room leading an organization of 700 people. So I went from basically a solo individual contributor, and yes, there was one person like leading compliance, to leading HR and recruiting and DEI and workplace and physical security. And that was December 2019. A week later, head of environmental health and safety said, Valerie, I need you on the coronavirus task force. I said, no, you don't. It's in Shanghai. We contained it. It's all good. She says, no, it's coming. And so that was the beginning of my HR career, leading Tesla through COVID, starting in December 2019. Long story,
Wow.
but true.
Oh my gosh, what a time to start working in Tesla right at the almost at the beginning of the pandemic, with China as well, where so many things are different from the way we operate here in the US and in most other countries. What a phenomenal career. Now let me ask you this. You talked, I know we prepared a few questions to discuss today, and I'm hoping that we get there, but I want to ask you this, right? So you talked about the excellence as the fundamental principle of every employee and every department in Tesla, right? Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question in the context of your upcoming book, or the second edition of your book coming out tomorrow. How do you think AI will change what excellence means for Tesla, but across the board? Are we going to become more excellent? Are we going to be faking it more, which is like the way things feel right now? Like you go to LinkedIn and you're like, holy smokes, I mean, this all looks like exactly the same, and it all feels the same, right? So what is now the concept of excellence in this new world of AI? I'll give you a second to think about that, by the way, because I want to acknowledge our audience connecting live from multiple platforms. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. So good to see you all, even though I can't see you. But thank you so much for being here. The only thing that I can do to know that you're here is to read your comments in the chat. So I am hoping that you would please post where you're connecting from. If you have any questions, if you want more gossip, but real questions about the book, that Valerie will be the second edition of her book that is releasing tomorrow. And I'm hoping that you ask any questions you want, but please let us know where you're connecting from or anything that you want to ask as part of this conversation. Valerie, back to you. Excellence in the age of AI. What does that mean now?
Yeah, so I'm gonna tie that into Tesla because it's important. At Tesla, excellence was the bar. It was the standard. So everyone was expected to be excellent, and that was the baseline. Transpose that to today in the age of AI, when every employee is expected to have AI as a resource. Now excellence is going to be the standard in every company. The performance management process is going to change dramatically because there's going to be an expectation of excellence. So it's not about work being identical. It's about using your expertise and then 10xing what you're delivering in your performance. That's going to be the new standard. And I'm not sure everybody is ready for this, because there's a few things that you're going to have to know to be excellent, no matter what your role is. And again, that's why I wrote the book. One of the things I talk about is the three key things that everyone's going to expect to understand, which is one, prompt engineering. And I want to sit on that for a minute. People think they understand prompt engineering. Most people truly don't. People think they understand that it's the ability to ask a question. Like, that's the basic that everyone understands. If you've been in ChatGPT, if you've been in Claude, if you've been in Gemini, if you've been in Grok, and you know how to ask a question, and a really robust question, you believe you know prompt engineering. What I am telling you is that is only 1% of how to use prompt engineering. The ability to create compound questions in such a meaningful way that you are iterating your questions with the chat, continuing to formulate the right question so that you get the right answer, is a process that takes a long time. If your prompt doesn't have 3 paragraphs with colons and parentheses and commas, and then if you're not asking it, now tell me how to ask you a better question, this is what prompt engineering is now. And there's an expectation, with my own team, when I ask them to do anything, I say, don't bring it to me unless you've put it through a chat. Like, don't give me any work product unless you put it through a chat, but it's not going to be excellent. And so prompt engineering is one, that true understanding of how to really interact with chats, that whatever work you're doing, you're automating your tasks, you're doing things faster. There's an expectation you're going to be excellent in doing that. The second thing that's happening now is the understanding of how to manage and understand data. When I was coming up, if you were talking finance, data, and metrics, you were on the finance team, right? You were not in HR or marketing or supply chain. Your job was not to measure your own performance, right? And put metrics around your own performance and to understand how to utilize data to do your job better. That is now the new basic. So to understand data intelligence, you don't need to be a data science, and you don't need to have data training formally, but there's an expectation that you understand data. That is brand new.
Yeah.
Another thing that's different with excellence is you are now expected to be an individual contributor. Like, that's the highest order. Like, needing to have a team to do your work is going to go away. So as you continue to rise in your company, you should be requesting less head count and not more. That is a new sign of excellence, being able to do your job with less people. So when you think about those three things, prompt engineering, data intelligence, and being able to do more with less individuals, that's the new standard of excellence that's ushered because of the age of AI. And it's going to be a difficult move to make for a lot of folks. But again, that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Valerie. And I am, as you're discussing, particularly the last point on being able to produce and being able to be a better individual contributor by leveraging AI. I am thinking about, I don't know if you remember the AI manifesto from Shopify that was leaked out, I don't know, probably like 6 months ago, and all this backlash, and people were like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, this is a betrayal to the humans. And then after that, it was Duolingo, and a little bit less backlash, some backlash. And then after that, it's been a cascading effect where now we understand that some of these companies are creating their manifestos, even if they are incomplete as they are, they trace the path forward about how their companies will adapt to AI. And one of the things that I liked the most about the manifesto from Shopify that was supposed to be leaked out, I think they did it on purpose, but it was supposed to be leaked out. One of the things that I liked the most about it was that they said, now for any extra resource that you need, whether it is a human resource or something else, you're going to have to justify why you can't do that with AI first. And if there's enough justification, which in multiple cases there will be, but in some others there may be not, and in those cases you're going to have to justify why you can't do that one thing with AI, which is, I'm connecting that with your point of, as an individual contributor now, you have more power and you're better enabled to produce things because you're tapping on AI.
Exactly. And I think what's interesting is kind of a sidebar. Communications expertise is still really required. So all the comms folks out there or people in communications, you're needed more than ever, because a lot of this messaging is not being done the way that it should be. And there needs to be a human filter that is that last mile in messaging, so that when a company is communicating to employees or to the world on things like that, they need to take the human empathy quotient into consideration. So that's a plug there for humanity still wins the day. But the need now to justify resources is different. In order to get headcount, tools, anything, you're going to have to say, why can't AI do it? Or if it is a tool, is AI embedded in that tool? And so even now, when we are looking at our HR tech stack, we're completely redoing our tech stack at Empower. We're doing our HRIS, and we're doing all the components. We're redoing the ATS, the LMS. We're redoing all of the performance management. So all the vendors, we're talking to all the vendors. We're doing all the screening. At every demo, the first question I'm asking is, show me how AI is being embedded into each of these processes, and what intelligence can my team glean from these types of tools. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because even me, adding headcount, you have to justify, well, if performance management tool can coach a hiring manager on how to have a better conversation with an employee who they're working with, I need to rethink what human resources do I actually need on my team to provide the strategic guidance for the company. So you have to include now AI in that equation, because you have to decide what can AI do and what can only humans do. That's new.
Yeah. I love that. And actually, it's a perfect segue to one of the things that you talk about in your book. And I love the way you do so. And I'm going to say this, right? This idea that AI will not replace humans, but a human using AI will, that's it. Sorry, I don't want to say the bad word. I'm just going to use the acronym BS. To think that you are safe in your job because you're using AI, you are doing a massive disservice to yourself, to the people in your profession, and to your own company. But now Valerie says it in a way that I love, because it reflects more the real first wave of transformation because of AI, and also the sense of urgency that we have to embrace, knowing that there's uncertainty down the road. And I'm going to read it, Valerie, in the way you say it. And I'm quoting you: AI will not replace you. It will actually replace the way your job gets done, which means eventually some roles may disappear. The competition actually is between you and your resistance to change. So the question is how professionals should be transitioning from just thinking about job security to adaptability, right? And I just want to, one more time, I want to emphasize this idea that believing that AI can't replace a human, that AI can't replace most of the job or the work that a human does, or that a human using AI will not be replaced. You got to put that in a different drawer right now, because over the past couple of years, like you said, Valerie, things have changed so much in the world of AI, millions of years of technological evolution packed in a couple of years. So Valerie, please go deeper into this idea that, security, job safety, employability have a different meaning now.
Yeah, with all due respect to the great minds who are using the mantra, AI will not replace you, or replace the person, who's not using AI. That might have been true for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know, right?
That they need to stop saying that. They need to stop saying that.
Yeah.
What is true now is we need to think of ourselves as owning our career, not owning a certain job. In other words, you have to think of yourself in terms of your career. Because if you expand your concept of what it means to be working, and think of yourself in terms of I'm managing my career, you're not so married to a particular job, because a job is going to go away, a job is going to change, a job is going to morph, but your career, what you own, will always be in your hands, and you should be able to flex in and out of companies, in and out of roles based on your command of AI. So it's a different way of thinking about yourself and the work. And I know it's a spicy topic. It is controversial, because we've been so ingrained to think job stability. We need to start thinking career stability. In other words, if I use my domain expertise and I couple my domain expertise with AI expertise, I am just as flexible in my own world as the company is with my role. Because I can also flex. I don't need to prove that I have 5 years of experience in this or 7 years of experience in that. I can gain 6 months of knowledge and have the same kind of output as someone who's been doing a role for 10 years. And so this whole concept of being able to move and being able to be fluid, that's how we should be thinking. We should be thinking in terms of career, not in terms of jobs.
Yeah, actually, there was a piece of research which I obviously cannot remember. I'm not AI, so I cannot remember who said it. I read a few months back, as I was doing one of my AI programs in Hacking HR, that a number of companies now are choosing to hire someone with less expertise and experience in terms of years for a function, knowing that that person knows how to use AI, versus somebody with longer expertise or more deeper expertise and more experience who doesn't know how to use AI, which goes back to what you're saying, right? If my output, even if it's not perfect, but if my output can be multiplied by me using AI, even if I don't have the full breadth of experience versus somebody else who's not using AI, it seems pretty straightforward what a company would be choosing going forward, right?
Yeah, so let's stay on this for a minute, because there's a lot here, Enrique. There's a lot. Yeah. I was talking to an exec search firm leader the other day, and on another podcast, and she was asking me, why is it now that even at the highest levels, companies and employers are asking us to put resumes through a tool and then grade the candidate when these people have outstanding backgrounds and they've done amazing things, and they shouldn't feel like they have to be, measured in terms of metrics and what they've done, because it's a new day. Because years of experience, not enough. Brand, marquee brand, not enough. Pedigree, not enough. I came from Tesla. I got one of the best pedigrees there are. Not enough. Now what we're required to demonstrate is, what is your output? What are your successes? What have you done that I need as the future employer? And you could have done that 2 years on the job. You could have done that with 3 years of experience. You could have done that with 20 years of experience. So we need to rethink tenure and sort of put that aside and think output and think success metrics. Now, that's not to say, and I want to make the more, senior, more experienced folks feel better. Imagine how powerful you are and what you can command in the workplace if you couple your domain expertise with AI expertise and measurable impact. Now you're formidable. But you can't discount the import of that AI expertise. So the number of years, now I wouldn't say, all companies are going to that model. That's a bit extreme. Yeah. Even when I hire, I truly care about how long someone's been doing something, because context. AI cannot give you context. It can't give you experience, and it can't give you the human equation that is needed to be an excellent leader. And so those things still do matter, but AI levels the playing field. And that, yes, I have this great, Tesla background, but I can go up against someone now for a role that's only worked for 3 years. And if they've got better metrics and they've got better success stories, and if they use AI better than me, we're exactly the same. That would not have been true 3 years ago. Yeah.
You just said, AI levels the playing field, but it also moves up that playing field, right? So
but higher.
A little bit higher, right? So that's, I'm always very mindful about the fact that when we tell people, these are the things that are uniquely human, and these are the things that are uniquely AI. I always say what you said, which is still, now, or yet, right? Eventually, like, look at this year, for example. Most people using AI now use AI for coaching therapy, mental health therapy, feedback provider, even to replace the lack of responsibility from their direct managers who are not providing feedback to them. That's what they're using AI for. And what I tell people is that you don't need AI to feel, because it doesn't. It just, so far, it very well mimics these human behaviors. Yes, it doesn't have context yet. It doesn't have a number of things yet. But eventually, as it becomes better, it's going to feel more and more closer to a human behavior, right? So this idea, I always tell people, yes, double down on what makes you uniquely human, but also know that AI continues to, increase its capacity, its capability, and whatnot. So I love that. By the way,
before you go, let me
go ahead.
This is so important. But AI can't read a room, right?
Yeah, it can't.
I was on a call last week with a bunch of VPs of ops, and I choose to have my HR team, doesn't matter what level you're on. If you're working on the project, you're on those calls with me. I don't believe in, this is the leadership call. You can't be in the call. I got that from Tesla. If you need to be on the call, you're on the call. It doesn't matter if you are, on the workplace team, or if you're on the cleanup crew. If you need to be on the call, you're on that leadership call. And I had my HR team on there, and I was conveying some difficult messaging about some things that we need to do. And at the beginning of the call, you could see the faces and the skepticism and the fatigue and the disbelief. And by the end of that call, we all were singing Kumbaya. It was a great call. It was at the end. It was great. So on the follow-up call, about an hour later, I pulled my HR team together and I said, now, what did you notice that I did on that call? I was reading the faces. I was watching the skepticism. I was speaking to each one of those. So I coached them on why that meeting was successful, but they got to see in real time that I could have had a bot right up on next to me. It would not have been fast enough to do what I needed it to do to be successful. So humans are still far superior. Our ability to read the room, our ability to understand empathy, our ability to, critical reasoning, critical thinking are still critical. However, The beginning of that call was based on information I provided to them using AI. So the reason why it was so successful is I was able to combine the AI data with the empathy and the understanding at the end. And so those things are still critically important. So we're still superior. We still own the room, but we can't do it alone anymore. And that's the key. You have to have AI by your side.
We can't do it alone anymore. And I deliver an AI program for our community in Hacking HR. And we just had the last class this past weekend. And it's very exciting. And one thing that I tell them all the time is it's like using Google Maps now, right? I mean, like I know I had the skills for navigation when I was in a city. I don't have them anymore. I think those skills are very weak in me. Now I depend on an app to find my way around in a city. And yes, I could figure it out. But it's the same thing with AI, right? I mean, after a couple of years of so much heavy use of AI in our company, in Hacking HR, for everything that we do, going back to not using AI is just an impossibility for me, right? But I do have my formula, and my formula for my team, but my formula for the people that I talk about this too is, I call it 90-10, 50-50. 90-10 is the thinking. I do 90% of the thinking when I'm creating something with AI, and the other 10% is my back and forth interaction with AI. And when it's time to produce the actual output of that something that we've created mentally, it is 50-50. If I want to produce a document, if I want to write definitions of things that I have in my mind, but I don't know how to describe in the best way, that is about 50-50. So that 50-50, that 50% that AI is doing for me right now is hours and hours and hours of work that I would have had to put in before the age of AI. So I can't visualize my life without using AI anymore, right?
Yeah. But what's also true, though, is the value of domain expertise.
Oh, absolutely. Without that, I'm lost.
Exactly. And that's why, and I don't know if we were going to get into this, but this whole conversation around not needing higher education and not needing college degrees it is such a myth. It is not true. We still have to produce people with domain expertise who are critical thinkers, who can understand the thing and then also understand how to communicate the thing. I'll give you an example. I have 3 sons. They're all founders. Like they're all tech founders, and they all have these legal agreements. They have these documents they have to read. I need to prove. And so I don't have time for that. Like I don't have time. So give me your, your MSA, give me, and I'll, put it through chat, and then I'll have chat, say, show me what's missing, and I'll review it. And I'll say, okay, now in order for me to know what chat has gotten right and what hasn't gotten wrong, I'm 20 years in law. Like I know everything there is to know about MSAs and working with tech companies, but I don't have the time to do it. So when it delivers this product for me, and some of it is pure gibberish, and some of it doesn't apply, and some of it just is nonsensical, you have to have the expertise to know that, to review that. So yes, what would have taken me hours that I don't have for my sons, I can do in minutes, but I still have to take that time reviewing the work of AI to know, because domain expertise is so important. So I think we need to make sure we don't throw out the concept that, you don't have to understand what you're doing or know what you're doing because AI is going to do it all for you. That is not true. So you're right. That 90% has to come from deep knowledge in the thing you're talking about. And then you can 10%, 20% with AI to be expert and excellent at it, but you've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to know what you're doing.
Well, I actually see it every day when I interact with AI, literally, 50 times a day, creating different things. And sometimes I ask a question and I see the output, and ChatGPT says like, this is why this is going to work. And then I read the thing and I'm like, no, that is bullshit. You're being ridiculous. I mean, like, if I didn't know about my thing as much as I know about my thing, I would take your word at face value. But it just doesn't have, it is not what I'm looking for, because even if it's not BS, it can be pure gibberish, blah, blah, to just have more output and make it sound like, it's smarter than it actually is. Now, let me stay here 1 second, and probably it's going to be the last question of our chat, because I know you have an important human meeting to attend.
I got till 9:30. 10 more minutes.
Oh, we got 10 more minutes. All right, let me ask you this question.
Sure. Human meeting.
You have seen this. There was this law firm. They went through. Yeah, you know what I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Multiple litigations, and the judge is like, "Oh, let me just read this thing, and let me read this other thing. This is what the heck are these people doing?" And they started asking the law firm, and he found out that the paralegals and some lawyers who didn't review the work of the paralegals had been producing BS with AI and sending that BS directly to the files in their cases.
Yep.
So how do we stay somewhere in a healthy middle where we say my domain expertise and AI 90-10, 50-50, if that's what you want to choose, rather than either doing it all yourself as a human, which doesn't work anymore in this day and age, or neither outsourcing it all to AI, which will end up in becoming, BS at the end of the day. Yeah. So how do you stay in the healthy middle?
Yeah, the key is, I'll use an example from my own work. I was trying to decide when I was going to put up the press release for my book. And I was trying to decide, is it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? So I put it in chat, and chat said Monday. And I'm like, that's not right. I was in communications for 10 years. Monday is not that. So then I put it in Grok, same question in Grok, same question in Claude, same question Gemini. They all gave me different answers. They gave me different answers of the day. They gave me different answers of the time of day. And I'm like, you know what? Let me phone a friend.
and they probably told you, this is why this is going to work.
Yes. Detailed examples of why they were right about the day and the time. Yeah. And so if you don't know, you're going to be misled. And so first of all, I was in comms for 10 years. I had a million careers. I was in marketing for 10 years. So I knew, no, it's Tuesday. Like Tuesday is the best day. But so that's why I'm saying you have to have domain expertise. Yeah. And that's also going to tie into really quickly this whole movement about early career and internship programs. I am worried about internship programs going away because there's some thought that the early career work can be done by AI, and then therefore you don't need early career. Where is the leadership pipeline going to come from? Where is the domain expertise going to come from in your company 10 years from now if you don't have an early career program? So that happy medium is you have to know what you're doing. You have to have expertise, and you want to use AI to be better. Yeah. You should not be using AI to teach you how to do the thing right.
Yeah, or to replace or to fully replace you.
You're going to get it wrong. You're going to get it wrong. It's like those lawyers who got in trouble because and because the hallucinations are so good now. That's the other thing. We need to change from gibberish to now it's hallucinations, which it'll cite a case, it'll cite the year the case was decided,
and the links don't even work. You click on the link of the research they are referring to, and error 404, page not found.
Exactly. So human expertise still matters.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to just go into this new direction to wrap up our conversation, right? And I want to pick up on something that you said before. If you asked the same question to multiple AI systems that are functioning with various large language models, meaning OpenAI or Grok or Copilot or Claude, you may very well likely get different answers, right? But one thing that I want to warn everybody, because I see it in my program, and I of all the classes that I deliver in my program, one of them is on governance, so I have to stay very up to date with everything that is happening. A lot of these tools are like candy for kids. They want you to they want you to stay hooked, like social media. They want you to stay hooked to the interaction with them. And what that means is that they will find the best way to do that. And the best way to do that, the candy, is validation. And that validation can come at a very high price. So and it's already happened, by the way, there were a couple of teenagers who died by suicide because they were pushed by their interactions with AI to do so. These cases are in litigation right now. There are cases of people who they didn't die by suicide, but they were having this delusional thinking about things that they thought they were able to do, and they are not able to do them just because their AI systems were pushing them to do so. So, because this is the candy that I'm talking about, they want you to stay hooked to these systems, and they want to do that. They are validating whatever ridiculousness anybody may be saying, you have to be very mindful about this, especially if you are using AI right now as to replace the feedback that your direct manager is not giving you as a mental health therapist, which I can understand the reason why you would want to do that. Is cheap, $20 a month for unlimited friendship from a therapist based on AI, a friend that you may not have, a coworker that you want to trust but you don't have, and you use AI for that. You have to be very mindful about how you use AI and how you filter what AI is telling you and how it is validating you. ChatGPT is very good at validating things that should not be validated at all. One last thing, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Valerie. A couple of weeks ago, the Washington Post posted a research that the research team did on 47,000 publicly available chats in ChatGPT. They discovered multiple things, among some of them what I am mentioning right now, people saying things that are conspiracy theories, fringe ideas, and the ChatGPT validating those ideas. But they also found that about less than 1% of the people had suicidal ideation, and the AI tool was not preventing them from doing so. Less than 1% of all the users in ChatGPT is more than 1 million users. That is extremely dangerous, and you have to be very careful with that. Valerie, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so it's a great place to end on governance. Let's end on governance and ethics, because it's the most important thing. And quite frankly, it's important. There's a chapter in my book. The first chapter is on ethics and governance because of this. So there's a couple of things that we really need to understand. Number one, chats and AI are not intelligent. That is a misnomer. They collect a series of words and sequences to give responses, but they're not intelligent the way human beings are intelligent. So hence artificial intelligence is a misnomer. So going to these tools for any kind of emotional resource, any kind of emotional support, any kind of companionship, you are not talking to a synthetic human. You are talking to a collection of words organized in a certain way. So it's extremely important from the very basics of, don't put any of your business, intel into a tool, AI tool, unless your company supports it, unless your AI governance permits it. And on the other end of the spectrum, be careful what you share with it, because it is not a human being. It does not have empathy. It does not care about you. It is not trying to protect you. It does not have any of the EQ that is needed in the mental health space. So it's really critically important to, just like the old days where you say, monitor your kids' video game usage, monitor their chat usage, look at their chats, look at what they're talking about. And similarly, if you're standing up some type of tool for your employee base, I would say, please continue to lean heavily on human therapy. For now, we're not ready. I think we're decades away from chats being able to replace humans. Be sure that your therapist, I did that when I was at Tesla, I made sure that the therapists looked like the people who needed the therapy, had the same backgrounds, had the same socioeconomic, had the same dispositions, so that we had a wide range of therapists. Focus on the range of therapists. Do not focus on replacing human therapy with AI. Not now. Not now, and not for the next 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Valerie, thank you so much. This is a great conversation that can probably continue for the entire day and into tomorrow, and probably into Thanksgiving too, if we let it go that long. This was awesome. Valerie, can you please tell us if there's a link that people should be clicking into to buy your book tomorrow when it becomes publicly available?
Absolutely. If you follow me on LinkedIn, my profile is Valerie Capers Workman, and in my bio there is a link to purchase, to pre-order today or purchase my book tomorrow. It's called Quantum Progression, the Quantum Leap Edition, The Art and Science of Career Advancement in the Age of AI. It is your playbook. I promise you, everything that I know that you need to know about your career is in that book, and you can get it right now.
So exciting to share this time with you and learn from you. And I am so excited about your upcoming book. So thank you so much, Valerie. I know you got to go. Thank you so much. You got to go to the human meeting now, to deal with these pesky humans and, that are not so validating. Just kidding. It's always good to see the realness of humanity. So Valerie, have a beautiful day. And thank you so much, everyone. Valerie will be in our AI Experience Summit coming up next week. So join us in all the programs that we do as well. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Link is in my bio. Link is in my bio.
Link is in the bio.
Link to book is on my bio. Thank you. And Hacking HR, you're getting it done. I'm such a supporter. I love Hacking HR. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. You'll have a beautiful rest of your day. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye, Valerie. Thank you.
Bye.